Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, the blind to Apostle GMS. This is Anwar Allah coming at you in another video. In this video, I want to focus on the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 27. And basically this is going to be about is, sparing your words. Knowing when to talk, when not to talk. Now, of course, we're never going to be 100% accurate on these scriptures, but the goal is, to strive for perfection. When I say we're not going to be 100% accurate on the scriptures, in other words, when the scriptures is giving us, the tools and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, of course, we're never going to get it right all the time. But the goal is to strive for perfection so that we can get it right all the time. So let's get right to it. So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 27. It says, "He that hath knowledge spareth his words." First, let's stop right there. Look at that word spareth. Chashak. To withhold, restrain, hold back, keep in check, refrain. To withhold, keep back, keep from oneself. So that's basically what it means, to restrain or to withhold. So he that hath knowledge, so that's the key word right there. He that hath knowledge. The person that has knowledge is going to spare their words. They're going to withhold their words. And the man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. That's self-explanatory. It's of a righteous spirit. Now, why would a person that have knowledge spare his words or withhold his words? Because more information can be gained by listening as opposed to hearing. Because if you let a person, you've heard people say, if you let a person talk enough, they'll expose themselves. So, he that have knowledge spareth his words. So more information can be gained through hearing as opposed to talking. More meaningful words, more meaningful information can be gained through listening more so than through speaking. So he that have knowledge spareth his words, and the man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. And the scripture says, even a fool when he holdeth his peace is counted wise. So even when a fool keeps silent, they're counted as wise, because you're assuming that because this fool isn't talking, that they're listening and gaining knowledge. So even a fool can be looked at as being wise if they hold their peace, if they spare his words. So how much more of a man who's actually knowledgeable? And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed the man of understanding. See that? A person that shutteth his lips is esteemed the man of understanding. So it's got to know when to speak and when not to speak. Okay? That's important. You know what I'm saying? You don't be among brothers and just be asking them, personal questions about their lives and, stuff like that. Or, going back and forth with a brother when you ain't got to do all of that. Even when you're just out there in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's better to listen than to speak. That's how you gain more meaningful information. That's something that a wise man will do. This is the book of Proverbs 29:11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. See, a fool uttereth all his mind. A fool would just be an open book. A fool would say whatever it is that they're thinking. They're not being calculated. They're not being calculated. They're not being calculative. They aren't taking into account if the thing that they're saying could ever be used against them. They aren't taking into account the things that they're saying could make people look at them differently. They aren't taking into account if the things that they're saying could be to their own ruin. If they're exposing too much of themselves. You just don't get on the job and just start telling your coworkers about your life. You don't do all of that, because guess what? Them coworkers gonna go and tell other people. And guess what? The whole job gonna know your business. So a fool uttereth all his mind. You don't always say what it is that you're thinking. Okay? But a wise man keepeth it until afterwards, meaning a wise man will wait for the opportune time. A wise man wait when the time is necessary to say what it is that they're thinking. Sometimes you just gotta be quiet and just listen. Okay? You don't always want to utter everything it is that you're thinking. You never know how people are going to perceive you. What it is that you reveal to others can come back to bite you. You got to always keep that in mind. And that's something that people in the world don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's why people are among people in the world, You're all hanging out, and then the person will go and reveal information that you said to them around everybody as a joke. Oh, yeah, he told me so and so and so and so. You know what I'm saying? So you don't go around telling everybody your business. You don't go around telling everybody what you're thinking. You know, it's like this, like the term goes, never let them know your next move. Okay? Here's a quote by Zeno of Citium. It says, two ears, one mouth, quote, Diogenes Zeno. That's what I typed in. The famous quote, we have two ears and one mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak, is attributed to the Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium. It is recorded by the ancient historian Diogenes Laertius in his work Lives of Eminent Philosophers. The context of the quote, according to Diogenes, or Diogenes, I believe it's pronounced, Zeno originally delivered this remark to a young man who was talking too much and spouting nonsense. The lesson was simple. Our physical proportions are designed by nature to teach us that listening and observing are more valuable than speaking, which makes sense. You know, the Most High designed our body in a certain way for a certain reason. Now, of course, you got two ears so you can hear, so you can have a greater field of hearing, hear stuff on one side of you, hear stuff on the other side of you. But just the way the Most High designed our bodies, it's designed for a reason. You know, our bodies are meant to go forward, not backward. That's why everything on our bodies is forward. You know, our face, um, the way our knees bend when we walk, the way our feet is. We go faster forward than going backward. So our bodies are designed the way they're designed for a certain purpose. Okay? But he just using that as a philosophical I give it a philosophical reason. You know? Most I didn't necessarily design our bodies have two ears, one mouth for us to speak more than we for us to listen more than we speak. But still in all, if you look at it from a philosophical aspect, that's a good uh conclusion to come to when you look at it philosophically, ideologically, you know. When you're trying to get your point across about listening more than you speak. Here's scripture, Ecclesiasticus, known as the Book of Sirach, chapter 11, verse 7. Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and rebuke. That goes once again about a fool uttereth on his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till after. You know, a wise man spareth his words. Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke. Now, sometimes you can blame before you examine the truth. It's not impossible. Sometimes you could be impulsive, but you don't want your emotion to get the best of you. You want to use, your spiritual discernment, your ability to distinguish between right and what's wrong, good and what's bad, to come to a conclusion before you blame somebody. So you got to examine the truth first. You got to examine it. Then you got to understand. Then you rebuke. Then you correct somebody. You want to just go and say, hey, you did this. You did that. And then you find out what really happened. And then you make it fully on. So, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Dag, man, I made a mistake. You know what I'm saying? So you want to understand first, then rebuke. Which all goes back to the scripture that we read prior. Okay? Proverbs 15 and um yeah, the heart of Proverbs 15:28. The heart of the righteous study the answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. So the heart of the righteous is gonna study the answer. Good word study it. Haggah. To moan, growl, utter, muse, mutter, meditate, devise, study. So the heart of righteous study the answer. They study to make sure they got the information they needed to come to a conclusion so that they can answer whatever question is brought to them, or a question that they may have in their own mind about something. So you gotta study, you gotta gather information. So the person who's righteous would do. But the mouth of the wicked pour out evil things. They'll just say whatever it is they choose. You know? They'll say whatever they choose without studying. without gathering the proper information. You know, so you got these different camps out there. You know, ISUPK, IUIC, so on and so forth. They don't stay the answer. They just pull about evil things. They don't really look into the scripture to see what they're teaching is right. They're looking to get money, looking to get followers, looking to get popularity. You know, that's not what we're in this for. I'm gonna end it here. James 1 verse 19 and 20. Wherefore, my beloved brother, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. So to be quick to listen. I want to be slow to speak. So be swift to listen, to gather the information. Be slow to speak, not too fast to react, and slow to wrath. You don't want to be a person that can be easily brought to anger. You don't want to be governed by your emotion, ruled by your emotions. It's going to tell you, speak about that. It's better to control your spirit. I'm not quoting verbatim, but it's in the book of Ecclesiastes. Okay? He that ruleth his spirit is better than, 10 men that take up a city? If I'm quoting it verbatim, it's in the book of Ecclesiastes. You can Google that to look it up. He that ruleth his spirit is better than him that taketh the city. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of the Most High. So you don't gotta be wrathful. You don't gotta be in anger. That doesn't work the righteousness of the Most High. Because why? The Most High wants us to be temperate. Meaning what he wants us to be balanced. He don't want us to be too much on this side or too much on that side. Now there's times when wrath is necessary. You know, what if somebody harms you physically? Then it's necessary at that point. One of your loved ones. Based upon the circumstances necessary. But we have to be ruled by that, governed by that. Okay? So with that I'm gonna close. I'm in it there. With that I'm gonna close and say, oh praise you, how about Shemel Shah, the blind see positive GMS, but then something shalom.